everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday, and it's Hypnosis Shop Talk with myself, Jen Snow, and Jenn Dodds from Coastal Academy. We are here, and we're going to talk one-on-one hypnotherapy. But first off, I'm going to say hello to Alex, Purple Princess, Diane. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your amazing and wonderful support always. And I'm going to start this off with cold plunging because I don't know about you, but I'm starting in May, as I said here on the comments. So I'm catching up, Purple Princess.
Yes, it's the Jens.
It is the Jens. We are here. It's the Double J's. That's what we should call this, the Double J show. Shop Talk with the Double J's.
Yeah.
So Jen was just telling me that she did try cold plunging due to my peer pressuring and did not enjoy it very much.
Hated it. It was brutal.
It's not actually fun in the beginning. I don't know about you guys, but I did not find this process fun, but I did it slow.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that. So it was just like, I gradually, but no, it was like, why? Why would I do this to myself? Why?
Because it's so good for your body. Except for you got to do it gradual and you got to add in the breathing part and the reminder that your body is not in danger, guys. If you guys struggle with cold plunging, the secret, like the final nail in the coffin that made it easier and easier was as I was doing it, constantly talking to my body that you're not going to die. Like you will survive this. It's okay. And that makes a big difference because your mind doesn't set you to fight or flight, which we all know is a very powerful thing. Right?
Yeah.
The first is actually it's the second one is always the hardest. I find the second one because the first one you're kind of like, oh yeah, let's do this. Rah! The second one you're like, fuck no. What was I thinking? First one, shame on you. Second one, shame on me. And then everything forward.
Yeah, I'm Norwegian. I got Norwegian in me. So it should come naturally, right? In theory.
No, it does not work like that. Especially when you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Yeah.
Think about it. As soon as you're nervous or worried or like, you've already gone into survival mode. Well, what's your survival mode? It's either run away to live another day or stand and fight. Well, when it comes to cold plunging, what are you going to fight? The water?
Yeah.
I mean, too hot from, the sauna.
Yeah, maybe doing that, going from hot to the cold.
Well, that is actually how I got into it. I went to the Scandinavian spa in Whistler it was a birthday present. And I got to tell you, if I could have filmed my face, I would have 1 million hits the first time I dipped into the cold water because at the spa, you can't talk.
Right.
So there's no yelping. There's no there's none of that. You have to control that.
No swearing. No, none of that.
None of it. And I got this poor guy, I'm pretty sure I almost gave him a jammer because he was trying not to laugh so hard because he said, he even whispered, your face is priceless. And I'm like, it's not priceless. That's me trying to control myself. Yeah. And then it got easier because the sauna is the key. And then the relax after. You got to
right, yeah. Knowing you survived, you did not die. Yeah.
No, I did not. And I actually got a bit addicted to it after that because the inflammation that comes out of your body. I mean, I'm not as ripped as I once was, but when I walked out of that spa for the day, I actually had abs. You could see them. My poor friend was like, wow, you got abs. And I'm like, yeah, they've always been there. They're just covered. They're covered.
Protective layer.
Yeah, that extra little bit was, but it was really interesting. It made me realize how much inflammation in my body I was carrying, which also inspired a lot of change because clearly inflammation is not good for you. But my wife's ex-husband had, the sauna in the house. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I freaking love saunas. I want one.
See, I
want an infrared sauna.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, because you get the infrared light, which is 100 times hotter and penetrates the body up to way more through the tissues and the cells and the muscles and cellular fluid, but it feels amazing.
Mhm.
And then the cold plunge, it's coming. I am putting in a cold tank.
Okay.
Not one of those fancy ones that keeps itself chilled out, but I'm putting in a metal water trough that horses and, animals use, farm animals use. And that's going to be my cold plunge when I can't get to the lake this year.
Yeah.
And Walker's going to try and eat all the ice. So that'll definitely be some TikToks.
Good. Looking forward to it.
So you up for round 2 on the cold plunges now that we talked about it?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'll think about it. I'll let you know.
All right. Well, this is the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You got it. And Purple Princess, until you start, one of the coolest things, I know you're talking about being swollen and because of the heat, is if you put watered down cloths into the freezer and give them like a 20-30 minute time frame, you can take them out, wrap them on your wrists and behind your neck. That will really help kind of bring that temperature down quickly, and also help start reducing the swelling that you get when you get hot. It's one of my tricks when I go away on vacation, because I swell when I first get into a lot of heat, and so it's really helped me in the past. And if you have a fever, this is a golden trick.
Okay.
So yeah, a little side note, but that is not medical advice by any stretch of the imagination. You two do not come for me. I'm not giving out any medical advice. Right. Gotta put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Disclaimer.
Nope.
So, all right. Tonight we are talking about hypnotherapy. Can you be hypnotized? The ultimate question, Adam, that you get I get it every time somebody has a discovery call, consult call with me. That is their number one thing. It's not about what the process is. It is about, can they be hypnotized?
Yeah. What if I can't be? I don't think I can be. I tried it before. It didn't work.
Yeah. I love that question, actually. I love it when people are like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, you've done this 120 times, like minimum a day.
Exactly. I know.
And we're just going to make it bigger. But there's that nervousness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how often we are in hypnosis. We just don't talk about that. But definitely we talk about trance, how going into a trance. That's what hypnosis is. It's a trance. It's an altered state of mind, sort of. But, reading a book, you get lost in the book. You don't realize how much time's gone by. Yeah, watching a movie and all of a sudden you're crying or you're scared or whatever. You're in trance.
Only now that I'm going through menopause, my eyes leak without my consent.
I like that. Your eyes leak.
It is. It's eye leaking without emotional consent.
There's no emotion experience. They're just leaking on their own. Yeah.
They are. They're doing something that I'm totally not giving consent to. That is my agenda. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was fun. We could talk about that journey. But yeah, no, my eyes, movies, oh my God. They just start leaking.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, you all see me cry on the show. I do have emotions. I'm not an emotionalist, but I feel like you have to give consent to it's non-consensual.
Yeah, no, that's different. Driving, we get from point A to point B and we don't remember the ride.
Yeah, 4.5 hours can go a lot, really, really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about you zone out, being in the zone, that's in trance. That's exactly it. It's funny because in the history of hypnosis, hypnosis has been around probably for eons and eons, just not been called hypnosis. It wasn't really till the 1800s when the word hypnosis was being used about the trance state and the purposeful use of the trance state. So it was a lot of doctors, surgeons who were using hypnosis for their clients or their patients, I should say. Before that, they were just lopping off legs and hands and stuff without, it was like, here, bite this bullet, right? Bite the strap, bite
I
the.
don't want to go back to that past life. If I go back there to still be out of that past life, I do not need to remember that part of it. Like,
Exactly.
I feel lucky. I've not gone back to any kind of like World War, like any kind of warish life I've gone back to. I've been knocked off pretty quickly, so I haven't had to experience the lopping
Good
of.
for you. Yeah, but and then something else that they found was while they were putting their clients into trance, some went in quickly, some didn't go in as quickly. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But something else they found was the um, decreased amount of blood loss because their clients were calm, right? They weren't experiencing the pain. So that's a huge bonus. And even I had a friend who said that she was one of her clients had a monitor, like heart rate monitor, that she was keeping track of while she was in hypnosis. And even though she was experiencing a traumatic memory, her heart rate and her monitor was just an even keel.
Yeah, mine does that. It gets down to like 54 beats a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, is my consistent in
Okay.
trance heartbeat per
Yeah.
minute, and I actually just stay there.
Yeah. Even though you're going or re-experiencing or remembering a traumatic event, it doesn't have the physiological effect on you when you're in hypnosis, which is pretty cool.
And dentists are now really coming back to utilizing the power of hypnotherapy and hypnosis for dental work instead of.
I saw a video of a young, I think it was 16 or 17 years old, I think. I can't remember. He was young man who was having, I think it was wisdom teeth taken out, or having at least having a tooth taken out. He had his hypnotherapist refused to take any sort of medication or drugs or anything. So his hypnotherapist was with him in the dental suite, and she took him into hypnosis. And as they are going through it, she's checking on his pain. What would you say your pain is? And if he was feeling a little pain, she would just do some more stuff to take him deeper into hypnosis. And they showed it was a video, and they showed the tooth coming out. His head's jerking as they're pulling the tooth out. He had no drugs.
I've done recordings for people during surgeries that we like started the process. Actually, the recording month, 6 weeks before, and the recovery and the process going through the surgery when they weren't put under, they were just given a local, or one lady had a spinal tap, and this one woman like would not have made it through the surgery very well because she was so worked up. But that her husband actually called me and was like, whatever you gave her, I'd like some.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, she's got the recording, so have at her. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's amazing how that, and she listened to it well, like during the process, and it really kind of just kept her in that beautiful, wonderful place that she created for herself within her mind. And she doesn't, I mean, she remembers, but doesn't have any emotional
That's right.
attachment to the process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was shoulder surgery. Yeah.
But another thing that these surgeons found out or discovered was that people healed faster as well with having used hypnosis. And studies have been done recently, in recent years, in this century kind of thing, where the use of hypnosis as a tool to help heal has accelerated the healing. So, in conjunction with physiotherapy or something like that, so combining hypnosis with medications or other treatments has accelerated the healing process, which is amazing.
Like I might know a little bit about that part of it.
Maybe.
Just a tiny bit, which we will be having to re-dip into, even though, because, had a little bit of struggle with my eyes and yesterday. So we will be discovering what caused that. Might have been the concussion, might not have been, but anyhow. Yeah. Thanks, Ozzy.
Yeah.
I love my horse, I swear, even when he's naughty.
It's naughty.
So are there any other examples of like when we're in hypnosis and people wouldn't recognize it, but that, like you talked about driving, we talked about reading the book, watching movies when my eyes leak, you're at an important meeting and there's a lot of different stages of that meeting where you have an emotional connection to the person speaking, or when you're in that inspired space, when you're gone to this function and you've got that keynote speaker and they're talking about all these amazing things, you're entranced during that
Yeah.
process. So, or the best one is football games. How many of you gone to a football game and the crowd around you create such an emotional connection and you're hooting and hollering when normally that's not how you would normally, that's not you every day. You're kind of quiet, you're shy, but when you're there, you step into that space and that space influences you and puts you into that trance, connection with everybody else, and everybody's energy just continues to feed it.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional charge of it feeds it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Daydreaming.
Love
For
daydreaming.
example. Yeah. Lots of kids do that, and that's because kids tend to be in hypnosis for a lot of time. A lot of time, when they're born, from when they're born till they're about 5 or 6 years old, they're almost always in hypnosis. They're in a hypnotic state. So that daydreaming is creating these new realities for them, and it's a vital part of our sort of mind development, and we can do that as adults as well.
I do it every day.
Yeah.
I love my daydream time. Like, it's usually when I do self-healing, but
Yeah,
there are times I just
for sure.
wander off.
Positive visualization, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. Um, yeah, it's valuable, and yeah, I was gonna say something, but I've forgotten it.
So when it comes back to you, it will, because you'll be like, boom, just
Yeah.
shout it out.
Mhm.
So when we I don't know about you, but when you run into this obstacle, because this is a common thing that we see every day in the chair, people come in either during the discovery call for their first session, even if we've had the discovery call, this first session is everybody's like, I don't know if it's gonna work.
Yeah.
How do you reassure people outside of explaining this process, that they've gone into this process 120 times at minimum a day, and given all these examples? Is there anything else that you would like to share, like that you can share with everybody that would help them understand that there's a very tiny, 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 minuscule percentage of people who can't be hypnotized, and that's
Yeah.
only really based on if you have a concrete core value that says no.
Yeah. 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 Really, if you don't want to be hypnotized, you won't be. There's one rule, two rules in hypnosis. One is without focus, there is no hypnosis, right? So, that nice little
So
rhyme.
highlighted.
Yeah.
It
um,
is.
so as long as you can focus, and that's, it's just a discussion, and overcoming the fears. Okay, what is it that is the issue? Why do you feel that you can't be hypnotized? Is it a history? Is it, you tried it, you tried it before and it didn't work? Um, um, but we can do little tests. We call them tests to show people that they can be hypnotized. The second rule of hypnosis is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And I'm sure you've said this before,
Yeah.
but we hypnotize ourselves. Me as a hypnotherapist, I'm just guiding you. I'm just giving you words to listen to help you take yourself into hypnosis. That's all I'm doing. That's it.
I'm giving you something to focus on so that the
Yeah.
monkey brain, the monkey mind goes, I'm going to move to the background now and I'm going to take a break, have a good time, high five. I'll step forward. As Purple Princess said, I had to bring everybody out in the funniest way yesterday because everybody during class had gone out. And when you can hear people's souls screaming at you, stop talking, I don't want to come out, don't do it. Well, as I'm counting everybody out, I was like, hey, let's go, everybody, back into the here and now. But everybody only heard that part. Nobody heard the count out from 1 to 5.
Nice. That's
I know. I
perfect.
got a lecture. Mama Snow gave me a lecture, guys. After I told you she was going to give me a lecture, she's like, "Oh my God, you jip us and you bring us back." I'm like, I know, horrible. I know.
What do you?
That's the complaint. I'm willing to take it.
Yeah, exactly. There's interestingly enough, Stanford University has discovered a genetic test that
Hmm.
tell you whether or not you are hypnotizable, which is funny. I'm not sure how you can arrange to have that genetic test done. I think you'd have to contact Stanford University. But yeah, there are, belief that I've seen anywhere from 75 to 95% of the population can be hypnotized. So it depends on who you're talking to, and what does that mean, hypnotizable? What does that even mean? Um, so it's, can you go into a trance? Now, what we learn when we're learning how to hypnotize people is there's different language that needs to be used for different people. So those people who say, yeah, I tried it and it didn't work. So there are a couple of reasons why it might not have worked. One, you didn't want to change. You didn't want to make the changes that you were there for. Two, you didn't have any sort of rapport with the person who you were working with. That's
I
pretty
think
simple.
that one should be like number
Yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
personally, because if you don't trust or like the person you're working with or connect or resonate with that person,
Yeah,
you have already got a roadblock.
yeah,
And if their tone of voice annoys you,
yeah. Yeah, we talked about that last time, how you need to find somebody who you're comfortable working with, because if you're not comfortable working with them, it's not going to happen. So yeah, you're right. That should be no sort of
it's
no
just my person. I'm like that one, and then the if you want to
you
create
want
change,
to.
because you can be hypnotized and not create any change because you resist it. I've
Yeah,
seen that once in my chair, which was really funny because we just called out the part, preventing the change, and then the door was open. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Something else that's important is how the language that the hypnotherapist is using. So we call it patter. Some people like to be told exactly what to do. They just need it simple, straightforward. Let's get it done. That's a sort of a direct language. And then there are other people who, if you're working with me, they don't like being told what to do. So you have to be a little more allowing. You have to be a little softer, a little more permissive. I have to be the one who is making the moves. I have to know that I'm safe. Um, Hypervigilant people. If you're a little bit hypervigilant and you're not sure about what the process is, until you're comfortable with it, you're not going to go into hypnosis. I've had people who, by the third session, they're still fighting it.
mhm.
Um, so it's finding what kind of language and how to do it. Even with the language, it can be that hypervigilance can really get in the way of somebody getting into hypnosis. So as a hypnotherapist, we have to be aware of that. I had a student who, we could not get her into hypnosis in class using the standard formats that typically works for most people. So I worked with her outside of class, and together we found a way to get her into hypnosis. And it was just like, she was just so amazed. This was just such a great experience for her to be in. But it did take some time, but we figured it out. So, that 75 to 95% of the people who can be hypnotized, what about the rest of them? I think it's just a matter of figuring out how to, more than anything, unless they don't want to do it.
Well, you have likes and dislikes, and that's the other side of this is as the person in the chair, please know that you should feel confident and in the ability to say, "Hey, you know what? I really hate that staircase.
Mhm.
I it drives me insane." Or, "You know what? It's just too much effort. I'm already getting into that place. I don't want to lift my feet up."
Yeah.
There's nothing actually wrong with telling the person that you're working with, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, and I think if you're confident, secure in your clinical hypnotherapy abilities, your hypnosis abilities, that having that feedback is actually really positive
Yeah.
because it allows us to redesign and customize the session for you. And like Jenn said, this can take a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of time, because if you've never experienced it, it is something new. I mean, yes, we experience it every day, all day, but it's not where it's like acutely focused, where we're okay, we have a purpose to this.
Yeah.
This isn't just driving and thinking, and as you drive home, you're like, oh my God, I hope I hit every green light on the, and stop sign. or me in my little like daydream land, because I love being outside of my body versus grounded. But it's very focused and acute. And, typically we're going after something or beginning a journey where you're going to unwind something
Mhm. Yeah.
that maybe not always be wonderfully friendly or wonderfully like, you want to go back there. So knowing that you have the capacity and feeling confident to share that with the person you choose to work with will help your sessions become evolve into what you need them to be. And
Mhm.
that voice needs to need to know you need to have that voice.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
exactly.
you feel that the techniques and tools that your person is using aren't working. Or even if like, you're like, hey, hurry up already. I'm there. That is something somebody wants to know too. I mean,
Yeah.
when Jen talks about direct and allowing language patter, I use a combination of both
Yeah.
in all of my sessions, and as a rule, you'll find that. But there are times when we have to lean one way or a little
Mhm.
more the other way, just to build that rapport, that experience, and that journey. And
Yeah.
having that ability to share that with the person you're working with can really help them do their job even more customized and designed for you and you alone.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's so true. So
It's like
true.
somebody painting your house, the color blue is just a little bit off. You got to say something or you're stuck with the wrong color,
Yeah.
right? And then that experience takes you on a whole different rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Something else that can get in the way of somebody going into hypnosis is typically, traditionally, a lot of hypnosis very visual based.
Present. Yeah.
Taking people on journeys and trips and seeing this and doing that. And what happens if you don't see? And there are people out there who don't see, or they see in a way that we don't expect them to.
Yeah.
It's really more of an experiencing things. They feel things,
Hmm.
they sense things, they know things, but they don't necessarily see those steps. So understanding that is really helpful as well. So if somebody was trying to get you to wander down the beach and see the birds flying by and that sort of thing, and you couldn't, then that's going to take you and keep you from going into hypnosis as well.
Yeah, because you just get frustrated and mad.
Yep.
And then it becomes a failure. And then you go into failure. Like, I can't do this.
Yep.
And I mean, okay, so what is, I know what, I mean, I'm sure we use the same process. How do you help people um, discover how they are going to perceive and sense the journey so that they know if they are a seer, the hearer, the knower, the feel,
Right.
what is a tool that you use in your everyday practice to help people understand that?
I ask them to describe things to me, like normal everyday things. Like in class we use the example of a fire truck. They're pretty standard. The fire truck is the same, wherever we are. So describe a fire truck to me, and or what comes into your mind when I say the word fire truck. Then I get something a little bit different, something that's a little more generic. But it's really interesting, the range of, for fire truck, for instance, I've had responses of heat. I
Mm,
hear the sirens, but I don't
yeah.
see anything. Other people are like, yeah, I see the truck, I see the wheels and the ladder and the people and like they're so detailed. But then other people are just like, I feel this sense of urgency, or so it can really run the gamut of how people experience things. So yeah, we definitely talk about how do they experience things so that I can then tailor the session to how they experience things. And I know you have something similar in that
I
you
do. I use the driver's seat of your vehicle for the mundane, and I ask you to connect and describe your surroundings, and then I take you to the tropical beach because, or if you have a phobia of the beach, we don't go to the beach,
yeah.
but we go somewhere else, and when that tropical beach is typically how you're going to perceive and connect with your inner senses during hypnosis.
Mhm.
Now, that's not saying when we get in there, you're not like, oh my god, I can see purple, and the other senses can evolve as you get comfortable with the process.
Yeah.
And that is usually, in my experience, what begins to happen. It's very rare that I only get somebody who only feels the entire time.
Mhm.
Anyway, it doesn't mean that their feeling isn't always the first thing they get, but usually the pictures can unfold. But if they don't, it doesn't matter, because you feeling is amazing, and that is as accurate and detailed as seeing the fire truck versus feeling the heat. I mean, there's no difference really. It's what it represents to you.
Your experience. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I know, putting all the little details in there and making sure everything's hung up just right. Yeah, you can get. So as a hypnotherapist, it's good to know that. Do you need a little bit more extra time to create your situation?
mhm. Oh, my first session's always like 2 hours, because we spend a lot of time doing this process and then moving into hypnosis, so that the success rate is as
Yeah,
high as it possibly can be,
yeah,
which for me, I've been really fortunate.
yeah.
Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 sessions, but I've been really fortunate in those 1 or 2 sessions, we've made headway.
Mhm.
And then I love the tests that we use, but we'll get to that later because it's my favorite.
Well, I do have a test for hypnotizability
I know.
that I'd like to do. So
I'm not
it's
gonna do it because I'll be like, whoop, done. That's it. She's out. I'm
well,
actually easy to hypnotize, hard to work with though.
so if you're curious about whether or not you can actually be hypnotized, there's a quiz that I have on my website that is linked to the IMDHA website, and it is um, so it's a series of questions, and then I'll do a physical test for you. Okay, so
Do I get
yes
to
or
answer these?
no? What's that?
Do I get to answer these?
Oh, you can absolutely. So, question one: are you able to follow simple instructions? Question two: have you ever turned your thoughts to other things during a dull meeting or lecture?
All the time.
Can you imagine yourself as one of the characters in your favorite film? So, are you able to put
Mhm.
yourself into that film?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the sound of a train whistle blowing?
Hmm.
Have you ever been traveling in a car, lost in conversation, and the travel time appeared to pass rather quickly?
Happens every time I travel to the coast and back.
I should have mentioned, keep track of this. Keep track of how many you've answered the yes to. Can you sometimes arise from sleep to get a drink of water and then go right back to sleep?
Hmm. Hmm. I
If
don't
you
think
are
I actually wake up.
right, yeah. If you walk past a crowd of people, all of whom are looking at the top of a building, would you also look up?
Hmm.
Have you ever rested your eyes in front of a TV set because you were too comfortable to get up and go to bed? I'm just resting my eyes.
How many of
Are
you woken up on the couch?
yeah, exactly.
3 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Um, are you able to meditate or pray? Have you ever been so caught up in reading a book, a good book, that you couldn't put it down? You 3 o'clock in the morning and you're still reading.
24 hours later, that's the problem. That's why I have to be very careful, because I will read all freaking
Yeah,
night.
yeah, exactly. And if it's a series, that's not good.
No, it's not.
Mm,
It's
while listening to a favorite song, can you remember where you were, what you were doing, and who you were with when you first heard it?
maybe not when I first heard it, but I can definitely go back and give you detailed
Yeah. Can a
moments.
song take you back to a moment in time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever cried or been frightened while watching a movie?
I've cried. I don't know if I've been really frightened though.
I know I've like, oh God, what's happening? Or just,
The
that.
suspense. Well,
Yeah.
my eyes leak now, people. So yeah, I have to admit that I cried. I already admitted that my eyes leak
Do you ever lose track of time while engrossed in something enjoyable?
all the time,
Do you begin to yawn after observing somebody else yawning?
every time.
Do you shudder at the thought of somebody scratching his fingernails down the chalkboard? Yeah. 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 Does your mouth water at the thought of sucking on or biting into a plump, juicy, sour lemon? I like that one.
I remember when Leslie asked me that first question on the suggestibility um, quiz that we have to help with understanding what pattern will work most likely best with a person to help them go through their process and customize it. And I just was like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you ever impulsively purchased a bag of popcorn, cinnamon roll, or something because of the aroma filtering through the air? So you can smell it, and then you just
McDonald's fries, people.
yeah.
I mean, I can resist it, but I hate the smell because I'm like, oh
Um, when someone talks about feeling warm physically, do you begin to feel warm also? Can you imagine that warmth?
every day when I daydream and I go to Maui,
Mhm.
that's why I'm probably daydreaming about Maui is because I'd like to warm up.
Yeah. Do you occasionally tune out when someone is talking to you in a monotonous voice? Can you at times not hear what a person is saying because you're anxious to impart your side of the conversation?
Mm, mhm.
Um, if someone talks about a fear that you too have experienced, do you have a tendency to have an apprehensive or fearful feeling also? So if somebody's talking about something that
I can definitely tap into that 100%.
so if you answered yes to 13, if you answer yes to 13 or more of those, you are probably it's going to be pretty easy to hypnotize you. And I
So
would
pretty much I'm your like center in the chair because I tried to answer no to one of them. I was like, you can't
I
actually
know
answer no to looking up at the building because you totally would look up just
absolutely yeah
because you're nosy.
yeah exactly yeah. It goes to that crowd effect, right? That what the crowd
It
is
is.
doing, we follow them.
Well, it's just like, you see those videos of people running across hot coals. What we don't always talk about is the fact that the size of the crowd will directly influence whether that person will feel how much pain and discomfort that person's going to feel in that moment because that crowd energy and the hype of the emotional focus and everything coming through has put them into a trance. So that's why they can process through that. And it's really interesting. The bigger the crowd, the more those people breeze through that process. I
Mm,
mean, I don't want to try it. I don't think I could gather a crowd big enough. But it is part of what it is.
yeah, yeah.
Most of us don't worry, Purple Princess. I am too. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
You just got to remember to ground every once in a while. Come back into the here and now, especially when I'm counting you out in our
Yes,
Tuesday night group classes, and I don't have to yell at everybody to come back to their bodies.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, a lot of those things are examples of being in trance, essentially. So, you know, um, the stage hypnotists.
Oh, it's beautiful magic. I mean, I don't want people. We all know that I'm not into making people hump chairs and cluck like chickens. I signed a
Yeah,
lot of paperwork saying I wouldn't do that, but
yes.
I can appreciate the art of it.
Yeah, they are extremely skillful at what they do, and what they're doing is little suggestibility tests before they even get people up on the stage. So they're going through a process where they are testing the people in the audience, and they've got if it's a big crowd, they'll have spotters and people, okay, want you up on the stage, you up on the stage, you up on the stage. Or if it's smaller, then they'll just identify the people that they want. But they go through a process of doing little tests. So here's another one. Okay. So if you will, put your hands together, fingers up and apart. Okay.
I gotta
Yeah.
give in here. Make sure you count us all out.
So just focus on the space in between your fingers. Just focusing on that space that's in between your fingers. And I'd like you to imagine that there are magnets in each of these fingertips. Imagine what that would be like if there were magnets pulling towards each other, stronger and stronger. And as you think about those magnets, the pull gets stronger and stronger, stronger and stronger. And let those fingers go together because you know they want to. Use your imagination. Use that string, that strong, powerful imagination to let those fingers just touch, just like two magnets snap them together. When you're ready to let those fingertips touch, just let it happen. Yes. So that's a really simple but common way to check for suggestibility, what we call as hypnotherapists suggestibility. And that just means, giving instructions, how easily and quickly are they followed by the person who is we're working with. If they're followed, if your fingers went together like right away,
Mine
and
tried. I was like, no,
exactly,
no.
that's me. I'm like, no, I will not let them touch. I will not let them touch. Fight, fight, fight. And so the difference is if you're just following it and you're letting those fingers touch, then you're probably somebody who appreciates the direct language, just allowing it to be given to you, being told what to do is essentially it. But then,
Can I give an example of that?
yep,
So those of you who have worked with me or have heard my meditations, when we go and I ask you to go to the wall in front of you, to take your energy and your flow to the wall, the space and sounds in front of you. When I say the word now go ahead and move your energy and your flow to the space and sounds. That is a direct, like it's very like pointed. But
yeah,
what you also hear me say is when you're ready and willing, let's go ahead now. And so and so the now part is the direct part of that suggestion that when that you want to take your energy, your attention, your focus to the space and sounds in front of you.
yeah, yeah,
There's
and
no black and white. It's very simple. Let's go. There's no like hesitation. I'm like, did she mean now? Did she mean in 10 minutes? Because depending on your suggestibility, that can begin to spark a conversation. So depending on where you land in that, it's
mhm.
very important to understand that to help.
Um, so if your fingers went together really quite quickly, uh, that's great. If they didn't, hopefully, when I said using your imagination, you can let them imagine them coming together. You can, when you're ready to let them touch, go ahead and do it. So that's putting it back into your power, your control, right? You're not just doing what I'm asking you to do. You now have it's up to you now to give yourself permission.
Yeah, it's allowing yourself. You're like, okay, I'm doing this now. I've made this choice. And that was what commits you to your process. And
Yeah.
that helped you go into that space. Like, I'm like that too, Purple Princess. I smash into the wall. I'm like, I was on purpose, like, nope, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare. Not because I need it to be allowing. I actually hate the gray area. I would like to know when. Like I am that person. Do it now. There's no time to waste. Get on with it. Where, but I do have a bit of the allowing part of me where if you tried to boss me around
Yeah,
and your tone is like
that's right.
forceful,
That's right.
I'm gonna be like, yeah, go
Yeah.
fly kite.
Yeah, so true. And even if like if I'm working with you and even if you are being quite direct in your language, I know you and I know what your intentions are. So I'm okay with you being bossy with me. But that's our rapport. So,
Yeah.
again,
Well,
I can get over myself and let myself do what you're asking me to do,
when
basically.
you trust, it's trust,
Yeah,
right? Trusting.
yeah.
Then it's not this, well, I'm not gonna, we all have a little bit of that in us too.
Mhm.
I mean, I can go into hypnosis when you count me down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 deep, and I could be somewhere. But like I like the process, so I try to
Yeah.
hold off because I'm like, no, I want to hear the whole process.
Yes. And then there are those who are, like, hypervigilant because of life
Now, can we explain what
situations.
hypervigilance is?
Yeah, so hypervigilance is where a person has learned through life experiences, um, maybe multiple life experiences and maybe a single experience, but they've learned that they can't let their guard down, that they have to be on guard all the time. They have to constantly know what's going on, who's doing what, where are they. I think about like the old Wild West gunfighters. they're sitting with their backs against the wall. They know where the exits are. They know where all the people are, and they are prepared for anything. So a hypervigilant person is somebody who really won't let you tell them what to do. So you need to be they need to be really comfortable with the process and really comfortable with you. Um, and it may take a while, in a few sessions before they have built up the trust in you as a hypnotherapist in order to,
Or trust in themselves
yeah,
that they are safe. Um, I had this one lady, I went to a course in San Francisco, and it's a combination of shamanic healing and hypnosis blended together. And there was one student in this class, and she was probably the most extreme hypervigilance person I've ever met, because her energy was like not just in the building, it was outside of the like she was in a constant state of this.
yeah,
Her anxiety was but it was like she was had so many little feelers out in the world, and so many people were stepping on it, interacting with her energy, that she never actually had a moment of pause or presence.
wow,
And I got asked to work with her because of the training that we had. And it was funny because she went out for 30 seconds. She gave herself 30 seconds, but 30 seconds was like a lifetime for her,
yeah,
because it had been 25 years since she had allowed herself to have 30 seconds.
hmm,
So hypervigilance isn't just something like it's small, it can be very, very big. And when it's okay to be hypervigilant, to be honest with you, there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
But when you get the opportunity to let go, it's quite profound how much it can help. Oh, there's the kitty cat. I figured Walker was coming in at some point because he was giving me the eyes, but and I'm like, damn it. It worked again. I love you
yeah,
so much. Of course it worked. I'm good at what I do.
that's right.
I don't take no for an answer. There's a reason why I do 3 inductions. There's a reason why I use pyramid, because the first one is to kind of get you in flow. The other 2 are to put you into that subconscious space. So that third one, by the time we're done 3, you're already in your subconscious mind. You already could travel wherever you want to travel.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hypervigilance is something to be aware of, because there's not, one way to overcome that, if you experience it in everyday life, is to actually remind you, like I was talking about the cold plunges,
Yeah.
talking to your body, talking to your mind. Be aware, pick 3 things, move your body, focus on your actual surroundings, like a detail in your actual surroundings, and have a conversation with yourself that, look, you are safe in this moment. And it's this moment because you're not living in this moment. So,
Mhm.
oh, hello, Stone. Thank you for being here. So making sure that you have that opportunity. But if you are feeling a little, in some days that will change. There are days too, guys, where when your suggestibility may give your hypnotherapist an understanding of how you work on as a rule, but there will be days where like, yeah, you got to change that up. That's not working
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
nice. I want to hear all about that. So, why is it now? We answered this, like, why is suggestibility important? But why do you continue to use that in your everyday practice? Like, how do you resonate with it?
um, what do you mean? Can you
Well, as a hypnotherapist, I know a lot of hypnotherapists that don't actually continue this practice and utilize the suggestibility form that we get from class.
right.
And, so what inspires you to keep using it?
Um, I guess I want to be sure. I can guess for the most part
Mhm.
now. I've worked with enough people that I can sort of, okay, I'm pretty sure this person is going to want direct language, or needs things to be a little more open and allowing. Um, but I'd like to be sure, and it just gives me a little better comfort that I'm giving them what they need, I guess.
I love that. It's why I still use it to
Yeah,
this day. I use it all the time. I use it with everybody.
yeah. So what Jen's talking about is we do have a couple of questionnaires that we get our clients to fill out, and it's a series of questions similar to some of what I just read, um, about situations, and you answer yes or no, and then we score them. We don't look at the answers. We're just looking at the number of yeses and
So
nos.
there is one question, and everybody hesitates on answering it. And it's so funny because I can always feel when they get to that, I'm like, don't worry, I'm not actually going to read whether you put yes or no at that question. I just need to know if it's a yes or a no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that the way that we then score it, and it tells us whether the client is leaning more towards the direct language or the more permissive allowing language. And then we can tailor. Although, we do both use a little bit of that, both of the a blended version of allowing and permissive, a little bit of both, or sorry, allowing and direct. But it helps us if we know that there's a strong score one side or the other, then we can lean a little more heavily in one direction or the other.
Yeah, I like combining both. I don't know why. I
Mhm.
think it's because I had in class, I was the guy who worked a lot with those who needed that allowing, the emos, and so I learned. It actually taught me quite a bit when it came to patter.
Mm.
Was that how to be delicate and elegant with
Yeah.
the way that I guided people into their inner space.
Mhm.
So I actually really appreciated that. I didn't appreciate it as much during class because I was like, if I fail, oh my God, if I don't get this right, oh yeah. But after class, I actually stepped back and thought that was outside of the guidance and the information that I got and the tools and techniques and
Mhm.
everything that I gained from that class that has helped me become the person I am today. That was probably one of the key components for me to be successful was that journey in with the allowing language pattern that really helped me find a blended version of everything.
Yeah, it's funny what you say, for instance, is again, in class, I talk about class because there's so many people going through it, but there was somebody in class who scored on this form. She scored what we call it an emotional. So there's an emotional and a physical side of things. So emotionals are the ones that need the more allowing language. She scored like a really, really low. So she was what we call a strong emotional, needs super allowing language according to these questionnaires. She was not going into hypnosis. They were just being so sweet and allowing and indirect, and she just wasn't going in. And so finally the instructor just went, "Okay, do it now." And she just went boom, it like a rock. Just because, sometimes you just need that decision taken
Right
away from
there,
you. Exactly, exactly.
right?
You need to stop making those decisions. You need somebody else to make the decision for you. And I know that when you've got that person that you trust, and if they're going to make those decisions and they're going to make the suggestions for you, sometimes it's just like, oh, thank you. Somebody is doing, I don't have to think about this anymore. That's exactly it.
And it's very funny because that can be very opposite of your conscious personality that is dominant.
Yeah.
So remember, because you're allowing in hypnosis doesn't always mean that's what you need, the way you present in your
Yeah.
waking space as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
is there anything else that you can think of that comes to mind when you think about whether or not a person can be hypnotized?
Some mental disorders or mental situations like schizophrenia, somebody who's not been treated,
Mhm.
because it's focus. You need to be able to focus. People who are um, afflicted with dementia, Alzheimer's, if they're not able to focus, if they're not in those lucid moments, you can catch them in those lucid moments, awesome. But if they're not in those lucid moments, not being able to focus, then that's not going to work. Um, Alcohol, drugs, under the influence, that can affect it. Some medications can affect whether people
Mhm.
focus, but the whole idea is focus. Interestingly enough, you'd think that somebody who suffers from, who's been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD would not be a good hypnosis client. They're awesome.
They are. I haven't had anybody that has that diagnosis have any issues
Yeah.
moving through the process.
No, because people who have ADHD and ADD often have the ability to hyperfocus, so they are able to laser in on what you're doing, which is great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So guys, do you have any questions? Okay, so I'm going to bring this. What is the greatest fear that you've run into with people that have come to you that want to work with you, but they have the greatest fear about being hypnotized?
Um, that they won't remember anything. That's a big
Mhm.
one. They won't. They won't remember what's happened because everybody's curious. Um, so no, you'll remember everything. Um, just that fear of lack of control, loss of control. That is the biggest one, and we've kind of talked about that.
Oh
The
yeah, you're in complete control. Nobody can make you do anything, and nobody can
yeah,
connect to your core values and shift them.
yeah. There was
Remember that.
that
You're not
Netflix. There was a Netflix show. I can't remember what it was called. It was a hypnotherapist who hypnotized a woman to go out and like I don't know if she killed somebody.
Was it a woman or was it an Secret Service guy? Because I remember seeing the ex Secret Service guy who they did hypnosis in, and he didn't actually go and hurt anybody. But yeah, I didn't see
No,
that.
no, it was an actual. He hypnotized this woman to do things for him that were illegal and so on and so forth. But the reality is, it wouldn't happen in real life. You can't be
Yeah.
hypnotized to do something that you wouldn't do normally.
And no, your body won't be like, just say it. It doesn't work like that. And literally, if you don't want to say it in hypnosis, no matter how deep you are, even if you're at that level where verbal communication has
Yeah,
kind of ceased and we're doing ideomotor, which is yes and no answers based on your muscle response because you're so deep that you don't want to talk. That just happened.
yeah, yeah.
You will not tell the hypnotherapist or the person you're working with anything that you do not want to share. There's nothing that I or Jen or anybody else could do to make you blurt out something.
No.
And Jen can attest to this because she's worked with me. I am a prime example. It'll be like lips sealed when I don't want to share something. And then I come out of hypnosis. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know why I didn't want to share it in the moment, but blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I have kept very, very tight-lipped about certain things that I just didn't feel like talking about.
Mhm.
So no, as much as that it may feel like that because answers come to you easily, information comes to you clearly, you've moved back into a cell memory, a past life memory, you will not give up the deets unless you want to.
No, no.
I'm a nosy person, but I can't even make it happen. So
That's awesome. And you know what? You were. I mean,
yes,
psychedelics are being used now to create a trance state.
they
So yeah,
totally are. It's
you're
all coming
totally
back.
you were in a trance state. It was just that you used a substance to get there, as opposed to what we do in hypnosis, which is we just guide you there.
Yeah, it really can create the same amount of healing or the journey. Yeah. No, you totally were hypnotized.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. No
cool.
location.
Give up all my No, you won't, I promise, unless you want to. And like I said, you gotta want to. You gotta be like, yeah, sure, you can know this, no big deal. Um, have you ever had a session where you've kind of like, I mean, I know I can tell you about my session, but have
Well,
you ever
even
had a moment there where you're just like, nope?
even yesterday in the
Mm.
session
Well,
that we did
I
yesterday.
couldn't talk about it. You had to talk.
Oh, you mean that one yesterday?
Did
Yeah,
you
that
see
one.
the slide there, guys? Did you see how I just slid that question out there, but she could have refused? Just saying.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't ready to say what out loud. I heard it loud and clear in my head, but that if I didn't say it out loud, nobody knew, right?
Right. Well, I know now because she did say it out loud when she was ready to. Just so we're clear, she did
Yeah,
share.
it was just I can't say it out loud right now. I need to get there, and I did.
And that's fine. Like that doesn't interrupt the healing
You
process. It actually
know,
allows you to know how empowered you are throughout the healing process.
And I've had,
I know, right, Stone? I am smooth every once in a while. I got some moves back here.
yes. Yeah, I've had clients like, "Oh, I don't wanna be here, I don't wanna be here, I don't wanna be here," and that's okay, that's cool, let's just move out here. Okay, we'll just take you out of there and we'll go over to the beach, right? And then, "Okay, tell me what you're feeling. You don't have to tell me the details, just tell me what you're feeling, and just give me enough so that I can help you move through it."
Am I allowed to, like, comment on something about yesterday?
Sure.
So there was a point where Jen wasn't speaking, and I just went to yes and no answers, so she could nod yes or no. And that was as effective of her being wanting to tell me what was going on. It was just very simply back to yes and no. And we went through the process and we got the results and the healing. So, like I
Mm,
said, you don't always have to share. One time when I was in hypnosis, I went back to abuse. And not that I was like, I just needed to cry because I never actually cried over my abuse. But I did not share where I was. I didn't even tell anybody where I was in that memory. I was like, whoop. I was like, nope. All I need is to cry. And I knew that in the moment. So I just cried. And that part of it was done. That final piece of the healing was done. But there was no details given whatsoever until I came out and I'm like, yeah, this is where I went. Like, I actually astonished myself that I wouldn't talk about it in hypnosis because I didn't feel like it was, and I totally trusted the person I was working with and it wasn't a big deal. But in hypnosis, I didn't want to talk about it. So
mhm,
I was tight lipped, like,
yeah.
so yeah. So it's just those two very different situations. But there are tools when you don't want to talk about that your hypnotherapist will have or should have that will help you get to the root of healing through that process.
And there are times when, say, we're doing some spiritual stuff and you're getting your higher self or your guides or somebody giving you messages. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that we as a hypnotherapist are not even aware of. There's a lot of stuff going on. Just because the client is quiet doesn't mean that there's nothing happening.
Yeah, well, I'm that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You should tell with my eyes fluttering back and forth that I'm doing something, but we don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something.
Yeah.
So, um, one of the greatest fears had a
Mm.
client. Oh, uh, it was interesting. She was afraid that she would have to deal with her fear of spiders.
Mm,
She had no want to even dive into sensing a spider in her happy place. So we had to be very acutely aware of where her happy place looked like and what it was like, because if there was any potential that a spider could actually enter that space, she would jump out of hypnosis.
right.
That was probably one of the most intense fears about being hypnotized, is that her subconscious mind would require her to deal with that.
It's time for you to get over this now.
Yeah. She
Spider.
kept telling me, she's like, it's gonna make me do it. I'm like, it's not gonna make you do anything. It's only gonna do what your subconscious mind's here to protect you, not torture you. But that was her greatest fear about trying hypnosis, was the fact that she'd have to deal with her fear.
Yep, yep. That's definitely an issue. For some people, I'm not ready. I don't want to. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to anything.
And that's where, the like, hey, let's go to the positive side and not have to deal with the negative side is a really great giddy
Yeah,
up U-turn, because you don't have to go back to all the negative side to do the healing, guys. That I can sink or swim. But yeah, you can do positive things. You don't have to do um all the negative. And
mhm,
sometimes working through the positive side and connecting to the positive pieces of you and reintroducing them into your conscious space can make what is we would consider to be negative or unwanted just dissolve and release on its own time as you focus on supporting the positive end of that. So
mhm.
there's lots of things that you can do. So if you're running into fears or hesitations or resistance, talk to somebody in the industry that can help answer those questions and see how that sits with you. Not that you have to choose to do it. You don't. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. It's really simple. So now that we've come up on our hour, we're a little over our hour. Sorry, Jen, but thank you. Do you have any last conclusion thoughts about hypnosis or anything you want to leave everybody with?
I don't know. I think echo's been good up until this moment. Echoing.
Oh, is it echoing now?
Let
me do this.
You're very welcome, Purple Princess Leia. I think like sort of summing up today is really just, are you able to be hypnotized? Probably. Yeah, probably. And if it didn't work before, doesn't mean it's not going to work again. One time is not going to be it. There are different ways to be hypnotized, so many different ways to be hypnotized. And it's just a matter of working with your hypnotherapist to find out the way that works for you. Don't be afraid to give feedback.
Yeah.
This worked, that didn't.
One of the questions I actually used to ask, and this has actually brought me back to it, is I used to ask my clients what they didn't like about the session.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny. I only ever had one person tell me one thing, and I was like, really, that's it? That's the only thing? But
thanks, Dawn.
It was one of those things that if you didn't feel comfortable, confident in sharing that with me, I was just going to straight up, I'd be like, here, give it to me, but that one thing for that person, which would have felt very minuscule to somebody else, was really big for them.
Yeah.
And it literally was having to walk downstairs and lift their feet up, brought them out of hypnosis because they viewed it as exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So simple changes, right, guys? So no matter where you're at in your own self connection journey, if you decide to dive into hypnosis, you've already been hypnotized. You've already gone through life going through this process. We're taking it, we're expanding it, we're deepening it, and we're focusing it. That's it. That's the only difference. Mm-hmm. And instead of doing it on your own in your car or reading a book, you do it with somebody who's there to support you and encourage you and help you move through that process with a more fluid flow and to go where you need to go. So, and your subconscious mind will only take you to a place where you can heal. It will never take you anywhere where you can't heal, because that's its job, is to protect you. So, that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your wonderful comments. Love them. And we will be back on the show on Friday morning at 7:30 with a really cool author, a friend of mine. Her name is Rebecca Hassam. I'm actually in one of her books. I haven't read the book yet. I'm waiting for the audiobook. I'm like, oh my God, this is back when I used to do barn work, and I was like, let's go. So I know. But she says she was nice about it. But she's coming on because she has a really cool, inspiring story, how she got and became an author and what she had to overcome and the obstacles that she moved through when the odds were stacked against her. So can't wait to share her story with you guys. So I hope I'll see you Friday, or the replay will be there. So thank you very much for your time, your energy, your space. Jenn's coming back on the show, and we will be having more topics on Hypnosis Shop Talk. So talk to you guys on Friday. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.